Yo, 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 yo. Keeping it real on the streets of this place we at.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Joey.
Yeah, I'm a rapper.
And he's not a rapper.
I'm
Matt.
not a rapper.
I'm Matt.
This is a podcast that you're
the
listening
Society
to.
of Rustles. What episode is this? Is this
Probably 5. I think we're probably on 5. Click, but it'd make a sound, so you know.
Well, 4 or 5, close enough, doesn't really matter.
Whatever it is, we're here, and we're going to talk about stuff.
Joey, you know what I really hate?
What do you really hate?
Call of Duty.
Yeah. Let's talk about why, because we need to talk about things, because this is a podcast, and it's our moral obligation to talk about things and not sit here in fixed silence.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Call of Duty. Call of Booty. Okay, what Call it, what?
It's fine.
Okay, well, my biggest qualm, I think I'm using that word right, my biggest qualm about Call of Duty is that they make the same game over and over again, and they still make a ton of money.
I think that's everyone's problem.
Yes, that's why I hate it, because all they're doing is essentially releasing map packs, and they get money for it.
Well, that's the big sales pitch. But
we sell you a map pack.
Look, now you can continue shooting human beings on the internet, but in another place. Here you go, children. Have fun. But, I think my problem with it is that it takes itself too seriously and is very racist. It's a racist franchise if you look at it analytically, because who do you always play as?
White male. Buff white male.
White American man. Who do you never shoot?
White American man. Or British people. Actually, no, just white people in general. You usually just don't shoot white people.
Well, they did have their big Russian thing, where they blame the Russians for, you know,
But are they really white?
Yeah.
Oh.
Most of them.
I can never tell with the Russian because they're European and Asian or whatever.
Well, it depends on... Anyway, I stopped playing after Black Ops 2, and do you know what? You know how that game started? You want to know how that game started? You were in Africa, and what you were doing there was helping them fight a civil war in the 70s. And it involved you getting onto a cart, helping the military general gun down hordes of rebels armed only with machetes, with your grenade launcher and machine gun.
That's,
Do you know what that is? Morally questionable and racist.
But it makes you seem like a hero for doing it.
Does it? If you actually take a few brief moments to consider...
Well, if you consider the people that Call of Duty is marketing to,
well,
they really don't want to stop and think.
Well, they know their audience, but for anyone else that actually...
Anyone with a brain.
But
anyone with a brain who plays the first second of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 campaign is just like, what the fuck?
But, what is it? Call of Duty is the only game I've ever played that forces a mass... Actually, no, it lets you opt out, but essentially forces a mass shooting.
Of civilians.
Mm-hmm. Because, like...
See, I think where they really lost any sort of, like, ground as a legitimate, like, shooter... Well, they're a legitimate shooter, but, like, one that really deserves to be on the market is after World at War, because in, what was it? Modern Warfare 1, you played as an American, that was fine, but then you also got killed by a nuke, and that was kind of like a big deal in that one.
There's an arguable anti-war message in it,
yes.
Whereas the later ones all encourage war.
They romanticize war, which is no bueno.
Yeah, I remember after quite a while, I just said to myself, like, hey, I'm going to go play World at War because I want to play a World War II shooter. And then I do the final mission, and it involves, like, your friend, I totally forget his name, but Russian man killing a Nazi with a machete, and rather than being like, oh my god, I've just murdered a human being with a machete right in front of me,
like,
he was like,
Russia!
Yeah, you did such a good job, now
Russia!
stick that flag up, we won. Like, that's not a mature way to go about portraying a mature subject.
Well, then again, I think kind of the deal with World at War was that, like, you play from the American side, and then it was like, oh, hey, the Japanese were doing these horrible things to people, and then because they're like doing whatever they were doing, and then you played as the Russians, and then you were doing all these horrible things to people.
And guess what? There's their continual anti-American or anti-not American.
Well, then again, I think that's why World at War was like the last good Call of Duty, because it was like, okay, so you're playing as the Russians and you're doing all this very questionable things that are very questionable. Like the one part where there's like the German soldiers in the house and then they're just like surrendering, and you're just like, yo, we don't take no prisoners, and then you just shoot them anyways, and then the one private guy is just like, we could have let them live, they were surrendering, and then the person who's over your command was just like, we don't let anyone survive. They killed our people.
How the one character with the moral compass gets killed off.
Yes. And
because war is bad.
Because it was like it was kind of like a horrors of war thing. Like, it's not a great thing. And then, like, I thought that was kind of solid in the Russian campaign throughout until you hit the very end, where he was just like, yeah, Mother Russia, we'll go home as heroes, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I can only really think of 2 games that have handled war maturely, and that's, guess where I'm going with
Spec
this.
Ops The Line.
Well, there's Spec Ops and also Bioshock Infinite. Because of there was that whole Civil War thing you helped start, and then you realize that war is awful and maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, but that's also why he stopped being a Pinkerton.
Yep. That's that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they put out a trailer for Burial at Sea Episode 2, and oh my god, I'm hyped.
Episode 2?
Yes, because it was a 2-episode thing, even though Episode 1 had a clear and concise end.
What? Okay, I don't want to know.
I'll show you the trailer later if you don't mind spoils.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
I doubt you'll...
I don't really care much for spoils.
Episode 1. But, I don't know where we're going from here.
Well, like, I was saying something before about Modern Warfare, how I thought it and World at War were like the last 2 good Call of Duties. What was it?
I don't know. I take issue with the market in that it's namely underage gamers.
Yes.
Which, despite being one of those for another year, I still take issue with that, I guess.
Yeah.
I take issue with letting someone who's a child, like, mentally and emotionally play a game that's for adults. Adults.
Mature adults.
Yeah, that's where that was supposed to go.
Yeah. Like, I think that's it's not as much of an issue as I think it's not great, but I don't think it's really that bad of an issue considering, like, majority of people. Well, I suppose this doesn't actually mean anything to what I was just about to say, but a majority of people on console gaming don't really have, like, microphones, and then they don't, like, speak to you online, so you don't really care about them. They don't really matter that much. And then there's the very slim minority of, like, 8-year-olds who happen to have microphones, and they're just like, oh my gosh, don't be such a little bitch, and then
much worse.
They swear worse than, like, the worst adult would, and then their parents are just like, whatever. I think that's the problem, not really just selling to underage
Well,
people.
it is the problem, but now they just sort of, I don't know, they market it for, like, adrenaline junkie people, which are pretty much teenagers and young kids.
Armchair generals.
Yeah, I like that term. But, I don't know. I think... And also, the only times that... Well, I barely ever play multiplayer, so I guess I'm not a valid source for this. But the only times I really run into kids with mics being awful in games are... Guess what? Call of Duty.
It's way worse than Call of
Duty. A lot worse.
Oh my gosh. I've never... Like, Call of Duty gets a lot of praise, but that's for a
it gets
mature
a lot
audience.
Of praise from a specific audience.
Yeah. And then the rest are just like, ha ha ha, I can steal a car and I don't get punished for it.
You mean Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Before you said Call of Duty.
Oh, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Here's my view on Grand Theft Auto, and that it's an enjoyable video game that is as mature as its audience, and...
I think that's what's really good about it, too. It's not like Saints Row, where it's like, it's mature for your immaturity.
Yeah. Saints Row 2 was good about that, but let's not get into that. The thing with Grand Theft Auto is that first it's been demonized by the media because of the things you can do in it.
Yeah, which I think is dumb because it's a video game and it's not the real world, so it doesn't matter what you do in it.
I don't know. It's pretty realistic.
Like, I think. Well, the thing is, like, it might be realistic, but I think it's an outlet so that people don't do that kind of stuff in real life. Because like people, they get stressed, and like sometimes you just gotta let your stress out. And if you do it in a virtual world as opposed to a real one, then that's only a good thing.
Yeah, that's a subjective thing. But I don't know. I find that here's my story in that I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5 right after I got it. And I was kind of scurrying around like a chicken with its head cut off in the game because I wanted to see all the stuff and do it as soon as I could. So I went to the gun store and bought a knife and said, hey, I just bought a knife. I should go test this out. And in Grand Theft Auto 4, when you use a knife on someone, you just kind of swing it in their direction and they fall down. In Grand Theft Auto 5, when you use a knife on someone, you stab them in the waist and they fall down and then bleed out. And I didn't know that, and I ran up to the first person I saw, who was just some guy talking on a cell phone, and kind of murdered him in the street, and then stood there shocked for a second and said, I just murdered a man with a knife, and I feel terrible. And that's that whole Unreal Uncanny Valley thing.
Yeah.
Of the more realistic your characters look, the more you'll feel
strange about it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's why I think that's why I don't like hyper realism as a thing that people are aiming for. Like, because I can see the appeal. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, oh wow, games are getting so much more realistic. But like, I'd rather have it much more stylized to the point where like, it's not
where morality doesn't come into play.
Like, that's kind of why I like what is it? I can't remember now. I know it was like Team Fortress 2 is like, it's a shooter and like people get all explodey and whatnot, and like it's fine because it looks like you're playing a comic book, and like that stuff happens in comic books and stuff, and it's all like cartoonish, and it's violent, but it's not mature violent, like if you destroy somebody's skull with like a hammer in some other game. One of the things I find that hyper-real games are good for is like narrative development, because you're more likely to become attached to a character if they seem, behave, and look human, as opposed to someone who like is, I guess, a poorly made character. Well, then again, there's like, I think that the like characters can be more colorful if they're less human, strangely enough. Like who am I thinking of? This? I don't have a great example, but in reality, there's a lot of not that interesting people.
Yep.
And like, if you go into if we get into a situation where it's like, yo, people are just like, the people in the game world, they're just like real people. People would be like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But then it's like, no, because a lot of them are probably uninteresting. And then, like,
I'm the type of person that I find that my tastes in games are strange, because what I like is a game. I don't like super open-ended creative sandbox things like Minecraft, because I will essentially give myself a project, complete the project, and then feel satisfied and not want to play the game anymore.
Right.
So those aren't for me. But I don't like really linear things that don't give you a lot of choice. Like, I really like sandbox games and coming up with my own reasoning for doing things alongside with there being an actual reason for me to do things.
Right.
But I like them to be realistic and portray interesting settings. Like, I don't know, because I've never been to New York, I find Grand Theft Auto 4's world more interesting and fun to be in than Grand Theft Auto 5's, because Grand Theft Auto 4 is labeled, or is set in New York, and GTA 5 set in LA, and I go to LA every year, and I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Whereas I've never been to New York.
See, like, I find my taste in video games, like, different, too. Like, not, like, I want a game that's fun, but I think that, that video games, like, I encourage the video games that kind of, like, take the genre of entertainment, like, further forward, because I think, like, like there are games like Call of Duty where you'll just keep the game in place where people will be like, all right, whatever, this is like something for like kids and immature adults, like man children. But then you'll have something like BioShock Infinite or like The Last of Us where it'll be like you can play it and it'll be fun, but if you're more mature and intelligent and you want to look deeper into it, there are like thematic elements that make sense as a form of that relates it closer to film, where it's like you can portray messages through visual images,
narrative.
Yes, and then you take it further by being a part of it. And then there's stuff like League of Legends that I play, and then not because of like narrative, because like there's no narrative to that game basically. Like there's no real narrative to that, but it's like it's becoming a popular culture thing where people are playing it competitively, and I think it takes gaming past we're having fun to it's a legitimate competition that people are having. Like you know, like it's an esport. Like it's not just a game. Like you can play it for fun. Like you'll play soccer for fun, but then you can play it competitively too.
Speak for yourself.
Well, see, yeah, exactly. Like some people are into it, some people are not. It's just like a sport.
I meant with a soccer analogy, but anyway. What is it? So I'm gonna rapidly shift topics and talk about a class that we're in that's a film class, and it actually made me analyze LA Noire a little bit because we've been watching noir films.
Yes.
And it borrows very heavily from them. Also, LA Noire is one of my favorite games.
Well, I've never played through the whole thing, so I can't say.
Yeah, I remember the one time you played it, you got in a car, said, "I'm a cop," and ran into a pole, then got out, stole someone else's car, yelled, "I'm a cop," and ran into another pole.
I was just like, this is the police, I need to commandeer your vehicle. And I just like the thought of just from the civilian standpoint, just like, man, that policeman really needs my car. It must be something really important. And then just watching as his like head pans as the car just runs into the nearest telephone pole, and he runs over and he stops the next car. He's just like, "I'm a policeman. I need your car."
And then when I was thinking about that, it got me thinking about David Cage's games, and that they would be. Actually, no. It started me thinking about actors and actresses in video games, and then I was like, hey, I know a game with famous actor and actress in it. It's called Beyond Two Souls. I never played it because the narrative is stupid, and that's a subjective.
Yeah.
It's very polarizing because people are either like, man, the narratives in these games are genius and so good, and then there's the other group of people that say, man, the narratives in these games is off the wall and stupid, and I fall in the latter.
Right.
Because I think it sets itself up with a good premise, but then it becomes progressively more and more contrived because I don't know how the story of a little girl trying to live with psychic powers turns into her fighting African warlords and running away from the government. This is all happening in the game.
What the heck?
And being seduced by like 8 people, and then you get to choose which one you want to be with.
That's really
at
weird.
At the end, and also it encourages suicide. I hate Beyond Two Souls.
Ugh.
Because essentially what it is I'm going to spoil that game because I don't care.
Yeah.
And at the very ending, Willem Dafoe's character pretty much goes insane and opens like a giant portal to the spirit realm or whatever.
What the heck is going on?
I know, it's weird. And he opens this weird portal, and then the spirits are coming around and killing everybody in this base that exists, maybe in space, maybe underground, it's not clear. But he's running around looking for his dead wife and daughter, and then Ellen Page is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I can't find them." And then you get a dialogue choice, and whatever you choose, he kills himself, and then it shows his spirit happy with his family. And he's like...
No matter which one you choose.
No matter which one you choose, he kills himself, and then he's happy with his family.
Wow.
Because apparently suicide...
Because suicide solves all your problems. No, it doesn't, kids. Don't.
And David Cage's first game is also off the wall and weird because...
Which one was that? That was...
Indigo Prophecy / Fahrenheit, depending on where you live.
Oh.
And
I think I've heard of that.
I don't even know which one's American, which one's European.
I think I've heard of that.
All I know is that you are a guy living your everyday life, and suddenly your life got turned upside down. Oops, wrong thing.
Wait, what? What?
No, anyway, you're a guy, and he is and the game starts, and you're in a diner, and you're possessed by a weird spirit that you don't understand. It makes you randomly murder some guy in the bathroom, and then
so this
you
is
run
basically
away.
The Stranger,
I guess. But anyway, you run away. You're like, oh god, I have to cover up my story. And then it cuts to two cops. There's an African American man, and then this younger woman. And one thing I noticed when I watched a Let's Play of that game is they are clearly underdeveloped, because when you play as the main character who did the murder, there's a lot of like different camera angles and stuff like that.
Right.
Whereas when you play as them, there's nothing. It's just them in a room walking around doing stuff. Like, so they're clearly added on to add length to the game. But I gave up on that game early on when there was a scene where he fights giant dream dust mites in his office.
What the heck?
Yep.
Oh gosh.
And also, that game, David Cage, the French guy who writes it and thinks he's a director, and he's really prestigious, or not prestigious, presumptuous.
He thinks he's very presumptuous.
No, he thinks he's a director, and he's very presumptuous.
There we go.
But anyway, there's a tutorial, and it's literally, they modeled him in the game, and he walks out and says, "Hello, I am David Cage. I want to teach you how to use the game."
That's so dumb.
And
that is the dumbest thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, when you pause the game, instead of saying resume game, it says resume movie.
Wow.
Also, that game had a lives system in it for some reason. I don't know why.
As in, like, Mario live system?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I was tempted to play Heavy Rain, even though I watched a Let's Play of it. But when I saw the stupid plot twist, I gave up on it entirely.
Alright, what was that? Because, like, I don't really care. Because I essentially know how it goes. The private detective's a murderer.
Yep.
And then...
No, it's stupid because they try to set it up where it's like, it's the character you're least suspecting, you'll never guess it's him. Well, that worked, except his reasoning is faulty and stupid, and what he does, like the way they establish his character completely goes against the fact that he's the killer, because they establish him as someone who's helping all these victims, and why would he be, like, helping this mother look for the killer when he's the killer, and, like, they say, like, oh, he's setting them up so he wants to see if they really care about their children because his father didn't care about him. That's great. Why is he trying so hard to help? Also, why does he come off as sympathetic?
Yeah, like, I remember, like, I didn't even play the game. I played the demo once, but then in the demo, there was the part where, like, you play as him, and then you go up to, like, the mom who is, like, she has to work as, like, a prostitute or something.
Yeah.
And then you leave, and then her like ex-boyfriend or something shows up, and then you have to beat him up
with QuickTime.
Yeah, the whole game's QuickTime, but like
that's how it's developed, so I guess that's okay.
Yeah, but then like you have to like beat the crap out of him and be like, yeah, don't come back here. And then it's like, why would you? If you don't care.
Understand, like, that's poorly set up. If they had come up with someone better, like, and they came up with, like, 5 good possibilities that it could have been any one of these individuals, and then they just say, no, it's none of those, here's the guy who arbitrarily did it because we wanted a plot twist.
Yeah, like, there was... just from the demo, I just assumed it could have been the detective, considering he was tweaking out on drugs. And I was like,
that guy's tweaking out on drugs. The main character's, like, blacking out at random.
Yeah.
And seeing visions of kids dying in his sleep.
Yeah, but then again, his son died.
Yeah, but, like, the fact that he's blacking out and, like, waking up in weird places and stuff's going on, like, that leads you to believe, like, maybe it's him, maybe...
And then I don't know this for sure, but, like, I saw in the trailer, like, he pulls out of his pocket, like, one of the little origami things.
Yeah, I think that was part of the thing setting up that it could be him, but it's not. All you need to know is the Sean glitch at the very end. That's the best thing.
Oh my gosh.
Just, I love gun pointed at man. Sean! Sean!
Oh my
Sean!
god.
On the floor, like...
What I thought was great about it too was that, like, the prompts just kept coming up too.
Yeah, I know.
X Sean. X Sean. I was like, that's good stuff.
So I'm going to jump back to something I talked about a few minutes ago, L.A. Noire, because I want to talk about that game.
Alright.
And that game is also very good, but ends in a dumb
Okay, so hold on. So something I want to just kind of like get straight before you go on is like, so in L.A. Noire, is there like a central plot, or is there just a bunch of like unconnected cases?
Well, here's how the game starts. First, you start out and you're a beat cop, and that's pretty much like every mission for that is a tutorial mission where you learn how to play the game, so those are all unconnected to each other.
Right.
The first desk, once you get to become a detective, is traffic desk, and those cases do not connect to each other. but have their own stories and
Right.
like relations with characters, and they establish. And those are done for establishing like the main character and side characters and how the police work.
Right.
And then all the homicide cases seem disconnected, but plot twists, they actually are all connected.
So then it's like a serial murderer.
Mm-hmm. Namely, the Black Dahlia, because he's famous. And then, and I'm going to spoil it more, you find him, you kill him, but police corruption, you're not allowed to publish that you killed him because he's related to one of the most powerful people in the country, unnamed.
Okay.
So that's all the homicide cases are connected to each other, and then all the vice cases lead up to one big conspiracy when suddenly the police discover that the main character is having an affair with a German singer. And
Wait, affair as in
sex.
Wait, no, but like, is this like an extramarital
Yes.
affair? Oh. As in,
and
this is the character you play as.
Yes, and this isn't
Okay.
something you control; it just happens in the
Okay.
story. And then he loses that case, and they move on, and then you like find out that all the police are connected, and that the mayor's in on it and stuff like that.
So
And-
like everyone knows that everyone's like corrupted.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then you get to the final desk, which is arson because you were demoted,
Right.
and then that arbitrarily leads into one huge like conspiracy thing, and it literally turns into like every noir film that we have watched because it starts out.
Deceitful woman.
Yes, that's okay. I'm gonna go through the plot of the entire arson desk right now. And then,
Alright.
namely, after you lose your thing, you're playing as that guy, and you go investigate house fires, and you're just like, "Oh my god, this is terrible!" And you arrest some people earlier on, and then you're just like, "These seem connected. This doesn't seem right." And then you can't do anything. So,
Serial arsonist.
so then you randomly cut over to the main character Cole Phelps's good sort of ex-friend because of bad stuff that he did in the war, which is you learn about as this plot progresses. Friend Jack Kelso, who is working with the Department, I believe, of Fire. He's working with the Department of Fire, and
as
then
in the fire department.
no, like
What, like
water.
The arson, like the arson department?
No, he's not a detective. He's just like, well, I don't know. Eventually, he ends up becoming a private investigator.
Okay.
But then Elsa Leishman, who is the woman that the main character had an affair with, comes to him and asks him for help investigating the death of one of her friends who died in a construction accident. Suddenly find out the construction accident's all connected and that they're doing stuff and they're building all these lots and burning down the houses of people won't sell the lots, and they're demolishing the houses and they're building new houses, and then they're blowing up those houses for insurance money, and they're going to build the freeway in the way of that, and somehow that gives them billions of dollars, this huge group of people that are planning to build the LA freeway.
Well, it's kind of like
Chinatown?
yeah, how they were doing the water thing.
And also the private investigator thing is like all of them pretty much. And then the woman asking for the help, she actually wants him to help solve Cole's case. So
Cole's case is in
the whole
these
thing
arson
with like
ones,
they're
like,
connected,
connected
and
arsons.
there's a conspiracy, and then guess how the game ends? Guess how the game ends?
He defeats the corruption, and then he...
No, arbitrary plot twist and punishment.
Oh.
So what happens is you find out that there's one guy that they've been hiring to burn down all these houses who was also in the war with Jack and Cole.
Okay.
And
as in a colleague, or like... on
yeah,
the
he
other
was
side?
with them.
Oh.
And what happens is you find out that during the war, Cole Phelps, who's the main character,
Right.
ordered them to burn out this cave that they thought was full of Japanese soldiers, but it was a civilian camp.
Oh, shit.
And the guy that burned the body, that burned all the people, was being hired by these people to burn down the houses. And he had a
Okay.
flamethrower, and he went insane and thought he was like saving the world by killing all these people.
Okay.
So he ends up kidnapping Elsa and hiding in the sewer. And then you have, instead of having like a big interrogation like the game would have led you to believe, you go into the sewer and have a gunfight with gangsters where you have a flamethrower, and then you find the guy, and then you talk him out of it, you get the girl, you all get out of the sewer, and then they're like, and then a huge flood of water's coming, and then Jack is just like, come on Cole, jump for it. There's a good pause, he's like, goodbye, and he dies.
Did he save Elsa?
Everybody but Cole lived. And he died for no reason. And then they give his funeral. The conspiracy was unsuccessful. End of game. And I get that they're going for the like depressing noir-esque
oh man,
ending.
like you gotta die
But-
for what you believe in.
But the way they set it up was terrible, and the game did not end well. But aside from that, it's a great game, and everyone should play it.
Sounds. But going along with LA Noir and what I think about video games being progressive, I feel like something else that's really good about video games is that it opens up a lot of industries that used to be, or maybe not industries, but like it opens up a lot of doors for like careers. Because like, when I was gonna say like industries that are kind of like failing, like careers that don't seem like they're very appealing to have because like, you won't like make a lot of money. Like a lot of people say that getting a degree in like liberal arts won't really help you, but in a lot of cases now, like video game companies need like concept artists and they need like in-game like model drawers and stuff, so they need like art for that. So you can, if you're an artist, you can do that. And then there's a lot of stuff opening up in like VFX and like video animation and I don't know, like
I want to be a video game journalist.
Yeah, and like video games open up all sorts of stuff for careers and for like the areas and industry to like open up again. Like even actors now, like what you said before, like there's like the facial actors that they had for LA Noire for the interrogations. So like they would all
the characters had face actors, including the NPCs, which would also lead to some funny moments when you'd say, "Hey, that's my partner walking down the street. Here he is again, right next to me." Weird.
Yeah, like you'll have there will be like facial actors, there's voice actors, and there's like mocap actors too. And so like all these things are opening up for people to do, and video games are progressing that.
And we have famous voice actors like Troy Baker and Nolan North.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And like it expands things. It just makes everything better. Makes things, it opens up the world for international industry, which is good. And video games won't go away.
Yay!
Speaking of things going away, that's the one thing that really annoys me about. I don't want to. Well, the computer science teacher at our school, right? Mm-hmm. I remember one time he gave a lecture. He gave like a little talk, like, "Hey guys, you should do computer science." Mm-hmm. Like one of the things he said was like, in the future, none of us will ever have computers. We'll just do everything on our phones. And I was like, no, we're always going to have computers because we kind of need them.
Well,
phones can't do
not
everything.
necessarily always, but as long as we can foresee.
Yes. For the very far future, I don't foresee any need to get rid of... I don't see the computer becoming obsolete at any point in the near or relatively near far future. Like he thinks, like maybe way far ahead when we're in space.
When we have the Google brain.
Yes.
And whatnot.
And Google owns the internet.
And Google owns our souls.
Yes, that's when we can get rid of the computer.
That's when there will be no computers because it will all be Google. Take that, Bing.
Gosh. I really want... I don't like Google.
I like YouTube, which Google bought, and Google's good for searching things because it can lead you to Wikipedia, which is good for searching things.
Yeah. The one school resource that no one's allowed to use anymore.
Yeah, why? That's so stupid. Yeah, well.
Well,
Well, we've sporadically jumped from topic to topic for the past 33 minutes.
We had some good discussion.
I enjoyed that. You should enjoy it too. Continue listening, unless the SoundCloud continues blocking our podcast, in which case, we're going to YouTube!
Yeah, screw you, SoundCloud, only if you don't give us free hours.
They'll block you for no reason.
Alright, well, I think that's it.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Have a good whatever day you're listening to this.